This is Hugh Greenwood from the North Melbourne Footy Club, and you're listening to another episode of the Hashtag Kangaroos podcast.
Whatever I've been through, the moment I see you, things start looking over.
Welcome to another episode. My name is Dean Vashik. You can find me on X at Hashtag Kangas, Instagram Hashtag Kangaroos podcast. Also live on YouTube now, so feel free to jump in and ask some questions to Claire and Siobhan. And I'm joined once again by my weekly correspondent, Claire. And Siobhan Rowe is back to review another win in the first final against the Crows. Girls, I was pretty confident going into the game, but I was a little nervous at half time. And like we've been saying all year, they still find a way. And let's start with you, Siobhan. You haven't been on for a while. It's fair to say that first half, we haven't been dominated like that this year, to say the least, and probably in a long time, Siobhan. But full credit to the Crows as well.
Hello, so good to be back, and back after a finals win, which is something that I haven't said on this podcast for a little while. So it's quite exciting and most definitely a really hard-fought, gritty win. And I think this team's shown us all year that they can win in many ways. And I think the other thing that I was really, really impressed by on the weekend was that for us, I think it takes a patch of footy to just rip the soul out of a footy club. And that was the third quarter for us. So I thought we knew Adelaide were going to come and they were going to come to the party and arrive with style, and they did. I thought it was actually, they didn't allow us to actually get our game going. I think that's what Adelaide did really well, is that we didn't see that explosive play that allowed Randall and Sheila to take marks on the lead and for our smalls to get involved. Everything was scrappy. Everything was hard fought. I thought we really let ourselves down with our disposal as well, but I think that might have also had a lot to do with Adelaide's pressure on the ball carrier. I thought they were a lead in that area and got some goals that, Danielle Pointer's first goal to start the game was one I thought, she's always got the wood over us, so I wasn't liking where that was going to start the game. But in saying that, they never really let Adelaide get far enough in front, if that makes any sort of sense. And that's a real credit to the defence and how solid they've been all year. Adelaide most definitely had their chances in that second quarter to almost put a big margin between the two of us, but they held up quite well. And then it took a bit of Bella Eddie brilliance and Amy Smith masterclass in goal kicking there for us to really look the goods. And I come on this podcast and I speak about Ash Riddell a lot, but she really is a class above everybody else on the footy field. And watching her live on Friday night, she is in everything, and she is just the epitome of a shin boner. Jazz Garner speaks for herself, but Ash Riddell's ability to lift was and lift the side was very impressive. I think that it was probably one of our worst performances of the year, which I know is a silly thing to say, but we still managed to win, and this was in a final. So I just think this group has every area of the ground covered, and they've got spirit. And most importantly, we'll mention again, but Bella Eddie's 2 goals were momentum shifting and incredibly impressive as well. So it just takes it. Our big guns don't necessarily have to fire. I didn't think Talia Randall and Kate Sheila had their best days, but there are players that bob up and just do things, and it's a side that is so well balanced, and it's just nice to see. So bloody good to see, and they deserve everything that they've got coming to them.
No, definitely. Claire, we sat together the second half, and the third quarter was the big quarter. After 21 inside 50s to 6 by the Crows in the first half, we were able to play the territory game and get some scoreboard pressure on and kick 3 goals, 4 behinds to 1 goal straight. 15 inside 50s to 2 in that third quarter, and that was the difference in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think it was interesting for you to watch me at the football team.
You're pacing up and down a fair bit. So.
The amount of I put my Strava data on when I'm at Marvel. I'm cutting laps of. I'm just pacing. Yeah, I get a bit nervous, as you saw, but yeah, look, the third term they came out to play. I think I think Emma Carney probably ripped some paint off walls at halftime and laid down the law. I think Croc had a really good tactic to sort of, we got, like Siobhan sort of said, we got squeezed pretty well by Crom in the first half. Like, credit to them. They're a pretty professional side. They knew what to do. They knew how to tighten us up. They put one behind the ball in terms of, and it kind of screwed up a little bit of our scoring power as well, because we just didn't know where to kick it. And they filled that pretty quickly, and then they got a lot of overlap in their half-back flankers. But yeah, look, within the first minute, I knew that North ball was on. Garner clearance from the centre. Sheila clutches a mark. I think it ended up being a point.
Yeah.
But to me, it was just sort of the spark. You could see the kerosene, you could see the fire, and you're like, okay, we're on here. Like, we've come to play again, which was good to see. But yeah, I thought, Bella Eddie clutch. I think, we've run out of superlatives to say for her because she's just all class. But I really, really enjoyed Amy Smith's goal. I think that was my highlight of the night. And the reason being is because I think she just probably had one of the worst, sounds harsh, but because she's got such high standards, but probably one of her worst halves of football, just very fumbly. She looked a little bit like a deer in headlights at times. Like, I saw her quite up close on the outer wing, and she just didn't seem to know when to hold it in and when to flick it out. She missed a couple of crucial handballs as well. So for her to really kind of pin back the ears and give it all she's got in that second half and have that sort of running goal, I thought that was really important, and it was good for her. And it kind of set that 10-point buffer. And I think once we're in a goal and a bit above a team, it's just a bridge too far, I think, to cross. Like, it becomes quite of a mental game, I think, with North. Is like, not only do you have to kick one, you've probably got to kick two, and then they're going to kick one back. So realistically, it becomes that 10 points actually ends up becoming like a 3-goal buffer in the mental gymnastics game. And I thought that was probably just enough at three-quarter time to really hold the wood over Adelaide. And then in the last quarter, I think, Sheila had that opportunity to seal it up, and I walked away and I couldn't watch. I just have these gut feelings. Like, I turned to Dean and I said, I'm not going to watch this. And I walked back to the back of the stands, and I legitimately did. And I just knew. And I turned to the guy who was closest to me. I'm like, she missed, didn't she? She's like, yeah, how'd you know? And I'm like, I just knew. But then, Vicky Wall got a couple. I thought she was really good with the high pressure tackling, and Mia King came into play. Ash Riddell clutched that last sort of quarter where she took that amazing tackle in the defensive 50. Oh, it was so good to watch. So, just the professionalism in which the girls came out in the second half. They threw the kitchen sink at us in the first, and they let us off the hook with some poor scoring, I think, and didn't probably capitalise on their opportunities. And you don't do that against North. You don't get a second shot against North. So, very professional outfit, and I'm really glad that the girls have got a home prelim now and a week off. It's well earned, I think, for the top of the table clash, I think. So, feeling good.
Yeah, well, we've got home finals for the rest of the way, as long as we get to the grand final, which I'm pretty confident we will. We talked a bit about that off air, but we won't talk too much about that. We could talk about the big players here in Jazz Garner, Ash Riddell, like we've talked about, Siobhan Rowe, but I thought the lesser likes, particularly in that first half, Eliza Shannon, Taylor Gatt, and the backline in general helped keep the score to a reasonable margin at half-time. It was a big reason why we were able to get a good lead in that third quarter, because we held them in that first half, didn't we?
Absolutely. And I think if there's one criticism, I think the last quarter not being able to score with having so many opportunities, I think the pressure got to them a little bit, in my opinion. And it's only going to get bigger and better from here, because there is no coming back. It's win or you're out type stuff now. But I think the most unheralded player in the side, and I mentioned it before, is Mia King. I mean, every single week she shows up, and she might not be the flashiest player, but she's tough, she's hard, she extracts the ball, she uses it well, and you can count on her every week to get the job done. I thought she was most definitely one of our best outside of the obviously clearly Garner and Riddell, the icing on the cake sort of players. But take Mia King out of that side, and I don't think you'll see the same output from Garner and Riddell, just purely because of how much work she does underneath the pack. But I think we've mentioned it before, but just the consistency across the whole side. There's not one player that doesn't perform, and I thought Neve Martin was very unlucky to not be in that side. But Eliza Shannon performed her role beautifully, and I remember coming on it and saying to you, Dean, my big prediction for the year was that we'd finish the year without Emma Carney in the side. And I know that it's been through injury, so it's just no fault of her own. But I mean, it just shows again without one of our better players that the girls in the back half just play so well, and Eliza Shannon is one of them. I thought Jasmine Ferguson had her moments, and Sarah Wright's just so consistent. They're a really nice unit back there, and when you've got midfielders that also push back to help you out as well, I think that makes their job much easier and much nicer as well. They're just so consistent from the first to the last player on the list. I think that anyone can be relied upon and called upon to perform their role really nicely. So we're very blessed in that way that everyone is just so consistent. I'd like to very quickly just speak about Libby Birch. I wasn't sure what her influence on the side would be when we picked her up from Melbourne last year, but she is so calm in a crisis. I think especially when Adelaide were peppering away in that second quarter and in the first for that matter, she just has a really great ability to take a mark and settle down the troops. And I watched her a bit off the ball, and she's, I think, the leadership and cool head that maybe we were missing a bit in the last few years as well. She was super impressive and doesn't rack up much of the ball, but is reliable to stop the opposition's second best forward most weeks. So really loved what she's brought to the side too. Another player, Tess Craven, I thought she had some really nice moments as well. We could go on all night, but they're just a very consistent side. Ruby Tripodi, again, the way she sort of stamped herself into the side. Again, tough as nails. She's like Mia King. You can rely on her to lay a tackle and take a really courageous mark or moment in the game too. So, yeah, very, very impressive. Alice O'Loughlin didn't have her finest night, but again, she's always lurking. She's dangerous. She's taking an opposition defender away. They're always got their eye on her, and then you've got someone else that bobs up. So, yeah, we're blessed with the best, I reckon.
There's a lot of talent you mentioned there. Claire, I was going to talk about Mia King later, but I think she deserves mention now. She had 24 disposals. I think it was 12 tackles, 9 clearances. I mean, she's a real finals player. The Crows midfield have some big bodies, and they can beat you and smash you in the contest. And she was really able to match them, and particularly in the second half. I felt like we really dominated that midfield in the second half, and she was a big part of it, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think she definitely, her body, her strength in the contest. You look at her and, you know, I'm just looking at, she's 166. So she's not exactly the tallest woman on the field, but she is one of the strongest. Yeah. She is a wall. I think what happened is they were able to sort of, I think the asset that Crom were using against us was squeezing us in tight and kind of trying to get the fumbled ball out and attack and pounce on it. Whereas Mia King, I think, is extremely talented for 2 reasons. 1, because I think she's the best defensive mid in the league.
Yes.
But 2, I think she is also an incredibly smart offensive player. I think she's really, really good at knowing when to hold it in tight and when we've got the overlap or we've got the outnumber at the contest, or when to flick it out and run the gauntlet. And I think she's just tremendously talented and got really good footy smarts in that sense. I'm just looking her up. How many tackles? She would have had
12, I think it was. Hang on, I just had it up a minute ago. So,
it'd be
12. Yeah, 12. Yeah, it was. Marinoff got 13. She had 12. So
yeah.
And
I just think that she's that perfect balance of a 2-way midfield. She can do both. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, Garner tackles as well, and so is Riddell, but I just think, and that's the benefit of having, you know, the best midfield in the league is they do run 2 ways. But yeah, she's just sublime, and I think she really clamped down after half time. She knew where to go. She also knew space. She holds her width and her shape around the ball really well as well. So you'd think a defensive mid would kind of fall apart when it comes to trying an offensive setup, but she's just really good. She's one I like to watch, and I had my eyes on her on the second half because I thought a big reason as to why North could get back in the game would be due to Mia King. And you know what? I wasn't wrong. So,
Yeah.
nah, she's a gun. She's an absolute gun. And the fact that she's 23 is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy.
No, it'll be interesting in a few years when the Tassie team gets up and running. I think she'll be pretty keen to get back to Tassie. I've had her on the podcast before, and she's definitely very keen to make a home, stay home in Tasmania. She doesn't like the Melbourne life, but no, that's okay. We'll worry about that when it comes. Siobhan, I was surprised by the omission of Neve Martin, but I understood it, and it actually was the right call, because I think we need another tall in the back line in Eliza Shannon. Those Crows have some tall forwards, and she proved she was very handy, particularly in that first half, didn't she?
Definitely. I think with Eliza Shannon, you get a player that also rebounds the ball pretty well, but she is tall and can take a really good mark. I think I underestimated how you mentioned before Adelaide's big-bodied mids. They also have some bloody tall forwards as well as some quite dangerous smalls. Caitlin Gould is a very impressive footballer, and I thought that she was well held, which was very impressive, and Rochelle Martin as well. There's a few of them there that I knew that we probably needed to be very careful about the way that we balanced the side, knowing the way that Adelaide was going to shape up. So I didn't have Chelsea Randall kicking a goal or 2 goals on my bingo card, but in saying that, she was also very impressive on the day for the Crow. A true, a very good champion of the AFLW. So not much we could have done about that in terms of predicting her doing what she did. But I thought they got the balance right. And as unlucky as Neve Martin was, I think if we played her, she could have played potentially some sort of negating forward role on Chelsea Bedell, who's obviously a very dangerous key defender for Adelaide. But in saying that, I think we did. Darren Crocker knew exactly what he was doing, and I think that worked well. How we match up for the prelim will be interesting, because she didn't do anything wrong. It was just more about the structure of the side, and depending on who we play, it might depend on who is playing on the day for us.
Yeah, look, she probably misses out, unfortunately, if Emma Carney is fit. And apparently she was really close, Emma Carney, this week. So, yeah, you'd only have to think she's going to be 100%. And you have to play Emma Carney. There's no question about that. But we'll talk about that more soon. Claire, I talked about the Glenn Freeborn Award last week. And when we really needed to step up in the second half, Bella Eddy with 6 disposals, 4 tackles, 2 goals. I think she was a match winner in the end, and she's that type of player. You give her an inch, she'll take a mile, and she'll take her opportunities, won't she?
Yeah, just classy, just a classy player. I think North were really good in providing the footage. I think it was scarily interesting how
I did see that against Melbourne last year.
Yeah. The Melbourne final and Sheila going over the top, and the exact same thing to Bella Eddy in space. It's a beautiful combination, in my opinion. So I just think, she's, if it's not Bella, it's Elise, and if it's not Elise, it's Neve Martin. That's the great thing about those small forwards, and the amount of pressure they put on their awareness around the ball, putting themselves into really good positions. So, I think having, listened to a lot of your podcasts with the players on as well, I know, Dean, that a lot of those forwards work as a unit. It doesn't necessarily have to be Kate Sheila kicking a bag or Randall kicking a bag. It's representative of the entire unit. I think it just ended up being Bella Eddy's night. She got on the end of a couple of really good ones, which is fantastic to see, because I think she's a really important member of this team. Like, I think in order for us to win a flag, you need all cylinders firing, and I think she's going to be a big reason. I do feel like Neve Martin is a bit unlucky. I think she's a really good deft touch player as well. And Elise, it wasn't Elise's night, but I think she was really good at rushing, especially in the second half. I watched her running patterns, and while she wasn't making an impact in the forward 50 as much, she was really trying to get to the wing and to the contests and apply a little bit more pressure or find the outnumber. She was willing to sort of say, okay, well, let's negate the contest. If I come in and sacrifice my game, I'm willing to to play that role, which I thought was really important. It's a very selfless role, which I thought was really good. But yeah, I do have to think, Dean. I would agree. Bella Eddy, definitely the Glenn Freeborn Award. Good on her, and hopefully we see a bit of that in the prelim in a couple of weeks' time.
No, definitely. No, definitely. And we'll start on the forward line there, Siobhan. I mean, in the first half, I think we only laid one tackle inside forward 50. I think I even told you, Claire, at half time, I thought it was like watching a men's team apply pressure in that forward half for periods of the time. But second half, third quarter in particular, 10 inside 50 tackles in the forward half. And you talked about Elise O'Loughlin, Claire. You had Elise O'Loughlin, Vicky Wall. Really, you could sort of sense the momentum was changing, and we really got the game on our terms, and we played the North Melbourne brand, didn't we, in that second half?
Absolutely. I think the way the modern game's going, you've got to have dangerous smalls the men can take a note of this. You've got to have dangerous smalls that apply pressure. And we have that. And I reckon that's part of the reason why we've had so much success. I mean, even Jenna Bruton, I know she doesn't play forward, but kicked the two behinds and looked really dangerous when she was playing up there. So the quartlet that we have of Eddy, O'Loughlin, Martin, Bruton, just with the two talls as well, it all complements each other so well. And I really think the way that the game of AFL is going at the moment, if you don't have dangerous smalls that can apply pressure and take their moment and seize opportunities, and you don't have a good tall forward that's at least bringing the ball to ground, hope to win games of footy. And that's why I think the game changed so much, is when we actually started getting our game going, getting the flow, the ball movement going, where it gave our forwards a chance. And you only have to give those girls half a chance. They're quality smalls. They make you pay. And that's what happened with Bella Eddy in a 10-minute patch. And Amy Smith, for that matter, who doesn't necessarily play there, but took her moment, took her opportunity, took the game on. And I think that's what I really liked with Darren Crocker this year. I know that he must be telling these girls to play on instinct, to play on flair, and that's why we look so good at times too. It's a joy to watch, but I really think that pressure and ability for us to lock the ball in and not let it get rebounded out was a big reason why we put the game away in the third quarter, really.
I think, it was 15 inside 50s to 2, like I mentioned before. And, after, I think it was 11-1 the second quarter from the Crows. So, I mean, the forward half game was very important. And, we're definitely able to get the game on our terms in that second half. And it was a big reason why we were able to kick a goal. I mean, how good was that? And how important in the context of the game was that Amy Smith goal, Claire? I mean, you could hear the roar of the crowd when she kicked that goal. It felt like, I almost was thinking, this could be it. We just need one more goal. We didn't get another goal after that, unfortunately. But I felt like that was a big momentum changer too, because, probably instead of a 50-50 game, it became all of a sudden 75-25.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the crowd really rose to the occasion. That they knew how important that was, and I think it was kicked closer to the North fan side as well. So they got up and about, which was really great to see. But it just provided that little bit of buffer. And I think 10 points or roughly 2+ goals to beat us is hard. It's going to be hard to do. So, it really – I think it was also because we'd scored a little bit of points as well, and we hadn't really capitalised. I think finding that 17 – I think it was a 17-minute mark she kicked the goal, and it felt like the chocolates were rewarded then. It felt like we'd put in the hard work, we'd done the time, we'd adapted. Now we needed, something positive to swing our way to suggest that, things were working. And, it went up a notch, I reckon. The stakes went up a notch. And I think, I watched the match replay and you can kind of see Crows players just sort of, their heads falling a little bit. But, a bit crestfallen, knowing that, the mountain now is a little bit harder to climb. And, nothing gets easier in the fourth quarter. You don't get a new fresh shoes or a new tank in the last quarter. Things just become taller and longer and harder. So I think it was a pretty pivotal goal. And it just sort of changed the tide for us. I knew it was definitely changing, but it felt like the collapse of the wave, and we could sort of, as a supporter base, be like, okay, we're all right now. Like this is the North we know and the North we love. So yeah, it was good to see. And it was good for Amy Smith, I think, because I think that was her first goal of the year as well, which is pretty phenomenal.
Pretty good one, hey?
Yeah, I will take it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, and it was a quality finish too. Just showed a burst of speed on her opponent, and was able to create space where there probably wasn't too much. So yeah, full credit to her, especially after a nervy first half. So she was able to really bounce back very, very well, and good on her for that. Siobhan, I mean, I think we might play the Hawks in a couple of weeks' times. All Australian Hawks, I should say, because they've got such a quality team. A big shock that they weren't able to get through. But I don't think they'll pose much of a threat against us. I don't think they're as good as the Crows, are they? Or am I being too confident going forward?
Look, they're a really interesting side, a very interesting side. From my point of view, I think they've got some really quality players. You don't have to look too far to see some of the ex-Brisbane girls in Bates and Bodie, and one of our ex-girls in Ashmore and Gilroy. I think they're high-quality footballers, and some of their young guns in Fleming and Baskaran, and they've got a few very good players. I think where we have a clear advantage on them is that I think our whole list works together and gels and digs in and performs every week, where I think they rely on their guns sometimes. I could be very wrong in saying that, and I'm interested in Claire's thoughts on this as well. But I do think that our overall holistic game is better than theirs. I think we've been there, done that. I truly feel like nothing's stopping these girls from going all the way this year. You just get the feeling that it would take something pretty incredible to stop them from winning it. I think they're hardened, their finals hardened, their resolve is there. And I think Hawthorn are the new kids on the block. They haven't had that finals run yet. So we have the experience factor, which you can't buy no matter how much you try in those big games. I just think their big game players aren't as strong as ours. So it'll be a very interesting matchup, though, because Hawthorn, if they'd kicked straight against Brisbane, obviously would have won by a bigger margin, and it made for an interesting clash. We're talking a little bit off there about it was a bit spicy, and it was a tough clash. So I'm biased. Obviously, I'm on this podcast talking about the Roo girls, and I just think that there's nothing stopping this train at the moment for us. No matter who it is, where it is, that they're running on absolute fumes at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, just to go back, Claire. I mean, that first half. Do you draw confidence from a good game like this? You think that you were able to overcome a poor first half, or well, not so much a poor first half, but we've got to give credit to the opposition; they were fantastic. Or do you go the other way? Maybe think that, or maybe other teams watched this first half and they could have worked something out. I don't think that's the case, but how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I sway between these two things, these two ideas of thought, I guess, because I think the reason why Hawks got so close to Brisbane is because Brisbane really didn't pay the respect that they should have at the Hawks, whereas I think it's quite different with Adelaide. I think Adelaide strategically, having played us, 2 weeks before, knew and had the insight and had the data to sort of call us out and I guess find some loopholes and to squeeze us. So half of me is saying yes, absolutely. Like, the resolve and the resilience and the professionalism to come out that second half and adapt is fantastic. And it shows, a hardened finals experienced team. But I would not want to be playing Adelaide a third time. I'd rather play Brisbane. I have no interest in playing Adelaide. I think you do not give Doc Clark another chance, 3 chances to beat us, because he'll find a way. That man, I think he's a very strategic man. So yeah, I think we're very strong, and I think, like Siobhan said, we're, in comparison to Hawks, we are a lot more balanced as a team. You know, we don't have to rely on our 6-star players to get the job done. We can find call upon the second or third layers of our teams to perform and step up. And I think the difference is also, in a couple of weeks' time, if we do get the Hawks or the Port, I don't think the Roos are going to show that level of disrespect that I think Lions genuinely did. I think, to be fair to Lions, they've rolled back and forth from Victoria 3 weeks in a row now. They played Saints, they played Geelong down in, GMHBA, and now then they played Hawks at Icon. So they have a bit of a jet lag, but it's a national competition, so my heart bleeds for you. But yeah, I just don't think. I think if Lions had have turned up with finals pressure, and less of a laconic nature, I think they would have done the Hawks by about 20 points. I just think that they had a bit of jet lag in the first half. So, as much as the pundits and the AFLW media, if Hawks win, will probably be paying $1 or $2 against North Melbourne in a prelim, despite North not dropping a game. I'd back ourselves in against anyone at this point. I would rather play, though, Lions in a grand final than Crom. I just do not want to play them again. I just don't think you give a club that many chances to beat you, because at some point it will happen. And the highest stake is the grand final, and I really don't know. So great confidence, I think, Dean, in resolving. But then it's, I guess, also it's nice. I've just been monologuing for an hour, but I promise, the last point, I also think North have the benefit of reviewing a loss within a win.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've got the capacity now to go back, and Crocker says, and the team says, that they review every game within an inch of its life. And I have no doubt those girls will spend the next 2 weeks looking at how to improve as a group and how to get better and how to adapt, I guess, more quickly to strategic plays. So, yeah, look, I think overall it's a win, and it's going to be good. It's going to help us improve as a unit heading into a prelim.
I hope so. Siobhan, I mean, I guess in that second half, we could have probably buried the game, particularly in the last quarter. We kicked 5 goals 8 to their 5 goals 1. Some of those behinds were handy, and we might have breathed a little easier if Vicky Wall, Kat Shearer had a set shot, kick one of those goals had gone through. I guess we don't want to lose a final like North lost the grand final in 98 through inaccuracy.
Yeah, that was the one thing that kind of came out of the game where I was like, oh, okay, let's, are they feeling a bit of pressure? Are they, what is it? So I think that's definitely something that they can have a look at too. I also think winning that game against Adelaide, it's a great mental game. I agree with 100% with everything Claire's saying about Adelaide. Fool me once, fool me twice, maybe not the third time. But I also think that having the week off is such a great advantage, because don't forget how compressed and how crazy the fixture's been for these girls. And I just think in the men's, there's a lot of conjecture around that week off. Does it actually give teams an advantage? But I think for us, it's going to be super vital that we get that bit of a break, bit of a gap, bit of a refresh. And Claire's right. I think that being able to almost take the qualifying final win as almost like we were on shaky ground, and listening to Crocker's press conference, he was sort of saying it wasn't looking great at half time. There are still a lot of things to work on. The fact that they can go away now and do that is going to actually be a really big advantage for us. And maybe goal kicking is another thing that I think maybe they've got to have a look at, because that's the thing. You only get so many chances against the really good sides as well. And come preliminary final week, it's going to be the best left. And you want to take advantage of those chances as much as you can. And Adelaide are a good example of that. 10-1 inside 50s in that second quarter, and they managed to hold them at bay. But they probably shot themselves in the foot a bit as well. And you don't want to be the side that does that and rue the day that you just didn't take your chances when you had them. So there is still some things to work on, even though we are unblemished this year. So that's also a really positive thing for this group, is that they win. and they win ugly, and they win sometimes at times without being perfect, and they still get the job done. So yeah, this week off is going to be so good. I think I really think it's going to be of great benefit for the girls.
I totally agree. I mean, Claire. I mean, they've played 12 games in 11 weeks. I mean, bit of R&R won't hurt. What do you think they should do this week? Just kick back and have a spa party or something like that, or go to Bali with Ricky Ollerenshaw. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, the Irish girls seem to really take advantage of the time off. I've been seeing them on Instagram, going down to the beach or going up to Sydney and things like that. So good luck to them. I think that I
think I've lost you, Claire. Oh, well, yeah, I'll see if I can get you back on. Siobhan, I mean, we'll move forward. I mean, I'll keep going back and forward between the prelim and so forth. Your thoughts on the prelim? I mean, if we're going to play Hawthorn, it's almost as good as having a bye in the prelim, don't you think?
Look, I think for us, and this is no disrespect for the rest of the teams that are left in the competition, I do feel like the two big challenges, and it feels like it's been this way for a numerous set of years. I think it's definitely Brisbane and it's Adelaide. They're probably the two that will pose the biggest threat to us. It's a bit of finals and experience, a bit of like I mentioned before, just having a better spread across the board. I think when it comes to potentially playing the likes of Port Adelaide or Hawthorn it's no disrespect. I just feel like this sort of stuff plays a big role, and we've been there, done that before, and I just think there's nothing stopping these girls now that they are. But at the same time, Dean, there's a part of me that thinks to myself, can a team really go a whole season without losing a game? That's a real. I don't think it's been done before in the AFLW. So it's a crazy thing to think about, that they could go the whole year with no blemish, other than that draw in round 2 against Geelong. So it's a big ask, but at the same time, I think this group have the capabilities to do it.
Yeah, I think I spoke to Claire last week. Going forward, do you think that teams may look to put a possible tag on either Jasmine Garner or Ash Riddell? I think Claire was adamant that the Crows were going to put time into Jasmine Garner, but she seemed to have free reign on the weekend, and she was a big part of why we won. I mean, Ash Riddell had 34 touches, Jas Garner had 29, 585 metres gained, 7 tackles. Do you think that's a possibility going forward, that they might look to take one of our best midfielders out of the game to give themselves a chance?
It's a really interesting question, Dean, because we've spoke all night about the fact that it is very much one woman goes down, or one woman doesn't have their best day, another one bobs up. And I think if you put a tag on Garner, for example, you might quell her influence a little bit, but you're not stopping Ash Riddell. You're not stopping Mia King, and you're also sacrificing one of your players to purely focus on playing on Garner or Riddell. And the thing that's so impressive about Jas Garner, and maybe why teams are a bit hesitant to play a role on her, is that if she's not able to get her hands on the ball in the midfield because she's getting a tag, she can push forward, and she's just got that amazing ability overhead, and also as a one-on-one player too. So those girls have their own skill sets. I think with Riddell as well, I think maybe you can stop her influence in terms of her disposal efficiency, but I don't think there's much luck stopping her from getting the ball, just from how much she accumulates it. So it's a tough conundrum for opposition sides, and I'm so grateful those two girls in particular are playing for us, because we don't have to worry about it. But you're risking your player to take out one of our players, who I also think someone else will step up. So yeah, it's an interesting conundrum for opposition players and coaches.
Yeah, it definitely is. But look, I guess like you said, you don't want to other teams to replace the strength of theirs to worry about the opposition. But it's going to be interesting going forward in the prelim. I think Hawthorn may look to put a tag on one of those two players, because they're obviously not as strong as the Crows. So we'll see how we go going forward. Claire seems to be struggling to reconnect. I just got a message off her then, sort of says something's happened with the phone, so we'll see if we can get it back soon. Siobhan, do you think, I mean, all in all, I mean, you must be still confident that we'll go all the way here. I mean, I still can't see, unless everything went wrong, I still can't see one team, even the Crows, even though they ran us pretty close and only lost by 7 points. I know you girls have talked about, well, you don't want to play them too many times, but, I mean, we beat them last year in the prelim as well. So, yeah, I mean, we've beaten them 3 times in a row. I don't think they pose as much of a threat as maybe you two think. I think they've played all their cards in that game. I think it doesn't matter who we play. I'm still pretty confident that we'll beat anyone. And, I think teams will, be competitive in patches, but all it takes is for us to play 10 minutes. We'll kick 3 or 4 goals and it's game over, Siobhan.
Yeah, I think that's what I was talking about before, Dean, and what makes this side so impressive is that it takes a patch of footy where I think opposition teams can kind of squeeze us under their thumb for a bit, and then we somehow find a way to have a burst, and that burst is enough to win the game. It's a really, I just think that they're absolutely airborne at the moment. So I do think that it'll take a real big miracle to stop our run and for us to not take out the whole title. But pressure does funny things, and grand finals do funny things. No matter who you are, what you are, I do think that pressure is real. And there are a number of girls who haven't played in one, and if we get to that stage and manage to get through to the big dance, I think it really does become a bit of an even playing field on the day, no matter what it is. So it's hard, Dean, and I'm sure when hopefully we get Claire back on, we'll talk about whether or not we want to take the risk with Emma Carney, because there are going to be hard luck stories in the next 2 weeks. We already saw one with Neve Martin, but who would make way for her? And is it too much of a risk without her playing for so long? And there's all these questions that will arise in the next 2 weeks. And I don't know how you feel. I think there were a few concerns in the first half, and Claire spoke about this before. Have opposition teams found some way of kind of negating us and stopping us from getting our game going? Because I think at times we looked really sloppy in the first half, and that was purely because of the opposition. I don't think it was because of us necessarily. So do we have these weaknesses that opposition coaches are going to study and try and exploit? They're all questions that will get answered in the near future, but it's weird. It's hard being the hunted, and I even though we aren't the reigning premiers, I do feel like we are the side that everyone is trying to chase down. I mean, it's pretty clear with our record this year, but it will take one off day, I think, still in this competition. One bad day, one day where I don't think injuries are going to play a part. I've spoken a lot about how we have a side that it's very hard to stop. No matter who goes down, someone comes up and replaces them in the team. But it does take one bad performance. But let's hope that, and I don't think it'll happen. I just think that they're airborne at the moment, that they're too in the zone to take this whole thing out, that we will be very hard to stop.
Oh, look, yeah, it'll take a monumental effort from another team to knock us over. But, I suppose we worry about who we play next week, and that'll be decided this week between Hawthorn and Port Adelaide. But I'm confident with whoever we play that we can knock them off. Well, Claire's iPhone has almost exploded. She just messaged me. She says her iPhone needs to cool down. So she's been talking a lot of heat. So she can't come back on. So, yeah, thanks very much to Claire for coming on tonight. Siobhan, any final thoughts from you?
It'll be a very interesting next 2 weeks, Dean, and it's exciting. It's finals footy. It's absolute best. I mean, the boys are back today, and the girls are flying. So there's a lot of hope and excitement as a North supporter at the moment. So I think this is a very important week off, and I think that they'll reload and get ready to go again. But like I mentioned, I just think it's a train that no one's stopping at the moment, and I don't think that anyone can. They're just playing such good footy and gelling so well as a team. So I think the silverware coming to Arden Street. I don't want to jump the gun too early, but no matter who it is, I just feel like we are playing really good footy at the moment. So it'll take a miracle to stop this. So fingers crossed.
Oh, definitely. And I will probably have you back on for a draft show next week. We're planning on doing a live draft show. Is that still on, Siobhan?
Absolutely. I cannot wait. It's
good.
my favourite time of the year. We've got the girls flying, and we've got a very exciting draft period coming up for us. And again, we don't know. It's all a bit of unknown at the moment with our footy club, but I think it's possible we're taking pick 2 into the draft or multiple first-round selections. So that's all yet to play out, and it might happen on draft night, Dean, and we'll be live doing that together.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm looking forward to that. Any final thoughts on Jaden Stevenson career while I've got you?
Quite sad, Dean. I mean, it's been a little while since I've been on and had a chat with you, but wish him all the very best for his future. And I saw today that he's back at Ferntree Gully, so his local footy club as a player coach there, and all the very best to him. I feel a little bit sad and quite emotional when that was announced a few weeks back. I think he's a player that I think we all, as much as we maybe didn't want to admit it, we saw maybe him lose a bit of passion for the game, especially last year. And it's brave and commendable for him to actually come out and say that, and ensure that us as a footy club have the best chance to bring someone else in and maybe fill his role or push forward without him in the side. But someone that was immensely talented, and I just didn't feel like he ever reached the heights of his first season or reached his full potential in the game for, I'm sure, a numerous amount of reasons. But I have no doubt that he gave his all for both Collingwood and North when he was playing footy there, and best of luck to him and thank him for his service. And we won't ever forget the West Coast game in the wet. That was a monumental performance and makes me a little bit sad when I look back on that, because I do still think he never quite reached what he was fully capable of doing, but we thank him for his service.
No, definitely. Look, I think I've spoken to a couple of people about this, and sorry about me. I'm losing my voice at the moment. There's a lot of restrictions within AFL circles. Like, I think he likes to have a punt. He's obviously, that happened a couple of years ago at Collingwood. He likes to do things in the off season, and there's a lot of restrictions with AFL football, and I think he probably didn't enjoy that and the professionalism. He doesn't look like the type of professional player that likes to make a full-time commitment. And now he just goes and trains twice a week. I'm not too sure what he's got as far as a job goes. I know he's done his own podcast before and things like that. So he's obviously got other things in mind in his future. So all the best to him for that. Anyway, Siobhan, thanks so much for coming on. I'm sure I'll chat to you soon.
Thank you, Dean, and go the Roo girls.
Definitely. And thank you to all you other listeners as well for tuning in to YouTube today. Like and subscribe, leave comments, push that notification bell as well. I'll probably be back later this week. I'm not sure what I'm doing just yet, whether I'm talking about AFLW or the men's program. I'll think of something. Until then, bye for now and go Roos. Thanks, Siobhan. Thanks for coming on.